All right, welcome to another episode of Remote Voices. This is what we are calling season 2 of our show. We have an amazing guest, Anya, who's head of marketing at Deel. We're going to talk about some really cool stuff on the show today. But first, Anya, tell the audience, what do you do? Who are you? What's Deel? What's it all about? And kind of give us the rundown.
Hey everyone. So first of all, congrats on season 2. I'm super excited to be kicking this season off. I love the show. I watched a couple of episodes, so excited to finally be on. And yeah, thanks to Twitter and connections we make there.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you said, I am head of marketing at Deel. That's my official title. Unofficially, I am the remote fairy of the team, which which means that I do my best and take care of the team. Everything from organizing team calls and just making sure everyone is onboarded and welcome, and then coming up with random things to make their day, basically.
And what is Deel? Give us kind of like the elevator pitch on why you should be using it. I think you guys also have some recent news. You guys got some funding recently that was a pretty cool milestone in the company.
Yes, exactly. So Deel is a payroll and compliance platform for remote teams. So it means that if you are hiring globally, you can streamline all the contract creation, payments, documents collection, all the annoying stuff that you usually do manually. You can do all that within a couple of clicks with Deel. So if you are in the US, if you're in Africa, Australia, wherever you are, you can use Deel and make your life better, basically.
And we are actually users of Deel ourselves. That's how
Yes.
we pay a number of our international contractors / employees, and it's been a godsend. The one-click button to pay, and really great audit trails, so I can go back and look at like where they've clocked hours, and it's been amazing. So we're big fans of the product ourselves.
Thanks so much. I'm always glad to hear that. So I'm not just shamelessly promoting the product.
No,
we
there are
love
no
it.
shameless plugs on this show. This is
I actually did a call with someone the other day asking about you guys, and I gave you all the glory and shouted your praises from the rooftops. So
Oh my
yeah,
God, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, well, word of mouth is I think one of the best marketing tools, if you will. So it's always a pleasure to hear that somebody actually enjoys using our product.
Yeah, and I think any company right now that is helping build out what we would consider the global workforce and just enabling companies to find talent and hire talent from anywhere. I mean, that's awesome in my book because I just want us to stop, and get out of this mentality of, talent is only in San Francisco. So it's super exciting to back you guys and be big fans because I love what you're enabling.
Thanks. Yeah, well, we're doing our best. It's a beautiful learning process. We're all learning a lot about compliance on the way, and just figuring out how to best support our users. And we always listen to their input, questions, and feedback because that's actually how we build the product that it is right now.
Well, I tell you what, and I think Jordan would agree with me. We'll become investors the day that you figure out how to auto file and auto pay all of our state unemployment taxes. Because holy smokes, is that just like the worst process in the entire world?
I'm talking to Alex next week. Actually, I'm gonna run it by him too.
It's so
Yeah,
bad.
go for it. Go for it. Yeah, we may put it on the roadmap. Who knows? You heard it here first.
That's right. Yes, exclusive
Right.
content dropping right now on Remote
that-
Voices.
Yep.
All right. Well, Jordan, this tweet I think was dropped by you. You probably have the
was.
most knowledge of it, but it says yesterday we announced Slack acquired. Is it Remeto?
Yeah,
Remeto?
Remeto.
Remeto, the enterprise directory reimagined. Now, he had a whole thread here, and I think he even went on the news and did a stream.
Yep.
Could you kind of break this down for us?
Yeah, so basically Slack acquired this new company called Remeto, and basically it enables to get you more context on your coworkers. So inside of, an organization at a certain point, it's hard to really know who's who and who does what at a certain scale. And especially being remote right now, that's really tough to do. And so Remeto kind of bridges that gap. And so yesterday, I thought this was really interesting because Stuart went on CNBC and was basically just talking about how he sees the future of work play out and the importance of these tools that allow you to communicate on a deeper level, or I guess like in a more rich sense with your fellow coworkers and employees And that was the whole reason for the acquisition. And so I thought this was interesting to us because, that's kind of what Yak provides. And Hunter, I think even yesterday you shared a screenshot with us, but people are using and looking for these tools to communicate with one another in a way that's just better, or, the best that it can be, kind of given the circumstances right now. So yeah, I think that's why this is so cool for me. That Stuart is just like, yes, we need tools that allow you to communicate at a really, really high level.
He sees the writing on the wall. Hunter, do you want to talk a little bit about that screenshot that you shared yesterday?
I actually don't remember.
It's
kind of reminds
the
me of
chit chat.
Psych Insights. Is this...
The chit chat screenshot of people talking in Yak.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. People are just like in the groups, forget it. I gotta.
Okay. All right. Mid podcast.
I work
Just
remote.
gonna get a call.
It's commercial
It's not my
time.
phone. Sorry.
Oh my God.
Hunter, you okay?
It's okay. It's okay. Like, it's remote work, and we're working under circumstances that are not,
All right.
common
Well,
for
Hunter's
everyone.
gonna get skipped, and he's gonna have to just listen to Anya talk about the remote nature of Deal. I assume you guys are a remote company, right?
We are a remote first company, so we have been remote right from the start. This is how the company itself was imagined in the beginning. And I think it wouldn't make any sense to be different than remote, because we are trying to advocate remote working, and the talent should be anywhere, not just in San Francisco. So it would be really silly if we only hired in San Francisco, right?
100%.
And also, to top that, I mean, we are all Deal users ourselves. So, we are really there on the forefront of what we are trying to do and the product that we're building.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot on the show, this idea of dog fooding. Like, if you're going to build a product, you should be using it yourself. Where are you based yourself?
I'm based in Belgrade, Serbia.
Oh, all right. We actually just hired someone who moved from Seattle to Serbia.
Wow, nice.
But I heard you guys, he just told me that you guys are going on to lockdown again.
We're not. Things are changing quickly these days. Not to get into the political aspect of what's happening, but we're not actually. Yeah, so they kind of dropped the idea, but we do have some additional measures, because everything opened up for a bit, and then they were like, "Whoops, no, not really." So they are kind of limiting the gatherings and the number of people that can be in one place, etc.
Well, Hunter, are you done with your little phone call on the side now?
My escapades.
Oh,
The beauty of working remote, just everything happens all at once. Yeah, man, it's pretty cool. So a lot of people are starting to use Yak in a way that's like not just, I don't know. I guess it's like water cooler talk. It's becoming more than just a place to have internal communication. So we have a couple cool things coming up, which I don't know if I can leak any of that information on here just yet, but it's really exciting. But anyway, this company Rimedo really reminds me of Psych Insights. So they are actually some students out of UCLA, I believe, and they're putting together some really cool things. They have a product called Kona, which gives you insane insights into your team, but it's mostly on the communication side. So like, does Justin like to get emails, or does he like to get Slack messages, or Yak, right? Like, how do your teammates like to collaborate and communicate? And that it seems, I don't know, Jordan, maybe you could tell me, but it seems to fall in the same lines as to what this is. It just seems like there actually is a problem that people are trying to solve, especially now.
I got a DM from the Kona bot the other day that I really liked, and it was weird because I felt like I saw the promise behind the product, but it like really came to light after they added this new feature. And I just got a DM from the bot that said, now every time you start a new DM with someone, before you send your first message, we will send you a message saying, here's how this person likes to communicate. And I thought,
wow,
that's cool, because it's no longer a directory where I have to like go research someone. When I send a new DM, the Kona bot will just like quickly DM me and be like, hey, just as a heads up, Jordan prefers long paragraphs over, you know, a bunch of individual messages. Actually, that's something that like Hunter hates about me, is that I type individual messages. So maybe that example would be better.
I was about to say it's the opposite actually.
Yeah, so it's really cool because I like that idea of an intelligent system that's doing it almost passively for you, so that you don't have to like actively go out and be like, oh, I got to check what this person, you know, likes. It's cool that it like sends it to you as soon as you start that new DM, so that you are kind of like reaping the benefits without the effort on your end, which I mean, I think we all know that we're lazy by nature.
That sounds amazing, and I think it lifts off a lot of the stress in trying to design the good onboarding process to figure out, you know, what people like, what people don't like, how they work best, etc. So it's a smart way to go about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Anya, are you a TikToker? Is that what they call them, Jordan?
Oh God, no! I think I'm too old to be a TikToker.
I must be too old and curmudgeony as well. So did you hear the news that it is potentially a thing that the U.S. might ban the app?
Oh really? Why? They had enough of it?
No, China, because of China, because it's funded by and built by a Chinese company. I guess they're afraid. Now, Hunter, you can dive into the political side of it with me, but I have seen some stuff on the side that has said that because all those TikTok teens prevented like seats from being purchased at that Trump rally by like buying up all the seats or whatever, that the US is like retaliating, you know, against TikTok. You don't think that's related at all?
No, that's absolutely, that's what people are trying to get it to be related to, but in reality, China's just taking way too much data out of people's phones through TikTok, because TikTok is a Chinese entity, and most, if not all, Chinese entities report their data directly to the government. And so obviously the United States has been, not to get too political, but the United States doesn't obviously like that. So their answer is to just take it off of the App Store. I think maybe them antagonizing Trump put it at the forefront. I don't have any data to suggest that, but people are making it somewhat related, and it actually is not at all. So what people are now doing is finding new alternatives.
With iOS 14, it was like it came to light that they were also copying the contents of your clipboard, like every other character that you typed. And I mean, not to say there's anything nefarious about that. I do think that TikTok has enough like viral loops built into it that copying the contents of the clipboard could be used to like, you know, auto open up, you know, a TikTok link that you've copied, or like share something. Like I see like a technical use case for it, but I think a lot of people were freaking out thinking, wow, they're actively trying to get whatever's on my clipboard all throughout my use of this app. And I think that probably, you know, tipped the scales a little bit in the nefarious direction.
Yeah. I think my favorite thing about all of this is just the Gen Z's reaction to Byte. Everybody's like, oh my God, why are there so many old people on Byte? Like, this sucks. Like, no one's going to use this. I think it's absolutely hilarious.
What is an old person?
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to ask that.
I don't know, but like basically all of the content on Byte right now from like the really young Gen Z folks is just like, oh my God, get these old people off here.
I am just like imagining a guy like eating his tapioca pudding in like a boomeranged Byte video, and that's why all the Gen Zers are upset.
It's crazy. Like, you know, we who are like 20 something, approaching 30s or early 30s are not half dead. And like Gen Z, you realize that.
That's hilarious.
But I mean, what's interesting about this, and the whole purpose of this tweet, is that Byte, which launched, I don't know, Jordan, like
a couple months ago, I feel like,
yeah,
right?
A couple months ago, and was at the time, and Anya, I don't know if you know this, but it was basically the spiritual successor to Vine, which obviously Vine, very popular. Vine compilations on YouTube still get lots of views. People have built whole careers about, are they called Viners? That can't possibly be right. But they built whole careers around it. And I still don't quite know the story of why Vine shut down. But anyways, you know, the creator of that went and created Byte. And it did a pretty good job of like the hype cycle. Like there was a bunch of people on test flight builds of it. You know, I guess maybe Byte was the original like Clubhouse. You know, you use that Envied test flight build that you wanted to get, and it kind of just felt like it fizzled out a little bit. And you know, I tweeted about it, I don't know, last month saying, hey, is anybody still using Vyte? And I got some pretty strong-willed reactions like, oh, yeah, we have a strong community. And my first thought when TikTok, you know, potentially could be ripped out of the App Store was who's going to replace it? And I'm going to be honest, I didn't actually think it would be Byte. I definitely assumed it would be some – because there's like a African-American company, like it's all black founders that have this like really cool ripoff that's like actually really well done, but I feel like they were all like bootstrapped or like it just didn't get enough press, but it was really, really cool. And I'd been following it for a while and I haven't heard anything about it. I'm wondering if those guys are still running that company because they had this really, really tight niche of like kind of like celebrities and hip hop artists and stuff that were all on this app. And I definitely thought it was in the, you know, as a forerunner for potentially taking down TikTok. And I thought, hey, this is now its time. And I haven't even seen it pop up anywhere.
That's really interesting, like how you just like how hype works. And I think like right now people are just hyping all the time about something. And, you know, back in the old days when we were young, but, you know, I have a feeling hypes lasted longer. Like, you know, we use like, I don't know, chats like, I don't know, MSN or something like for years before it kind of went out. So right now it's not just about the hype. Like you need to leverage that hype in a smart way in order to stay out there. Like even if you're not number one, that you're still kind of known and used. So
how did I mean, you're head of marketing, right? So this is obviously close to you. How did you guys get your first users? You know, I doubt you did a closed test flight build on Twitter. So what was that hype cycle like?
Well, for us, it's actually an interesting story because Deal now and Deal when we first started, is not exactly the same thing. So we kind of pivoted at some point. So we were, I mean, slightly pivoted, so to say. So we were a part of Y Combinator. And I'm sorry, Hunter, you're listening to this for the second time, but yeah.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Yeah, so we were a part of Y Combinator a year and a half back. And at the time, and this is also the time when I joined, Deal was mostly a product that is kind of a safety net for freelancers to get paid and to minimize the risk of not being paid and being ghosted by clients. This is something that was kind of
It's a real problem, I'll tell you that.
It is a real problem, and I don't think that unfortunately it will go away. It will be there for some time, and you know it happens. But at some point during the talks and all the conversations my co-founders had with Y Combinator people and their mentors and partners, we realized that there could be potential for more impact if we switch things around. So instead of just being there for contractors only, how about we are there for companies as well? So this whole idea of expanding it to payroll and compliance and all-in-one platform, not necessarily the, hey, use Deal in order to get paid, but how about, you know, use everything to kind of streamline all the annoying process that you need to go
I think
through.
that's kind of genius. It's like start at the problem, which is typically the person paying.
Yeah, exactly. Because people don't know. That's the thing. Because when we started this whole thing, we were just like, okay, so what are the problems that we're trying to solve? And as we gathered, you know, a couple of users, I think some of them were in the States. We're like, okay, so it's the 1099, it's W8, W9. Okay, all the tax forms and all this annoying thing that you need to like spend hours looking at IRS's website in order to figure out what you need to do. And for me, it's just crazy to see because I'm not from the States, but I research for content creation and I spend so much time on IRS's website. I'm like, man, this is really designed to just kill your brain cells.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you. It's Jordan probably knows this above anybody at our company, but man, the IRS, the government websites, each state's website is completely different, and the process is completely different. It's such
the
an
bane of
awful
my
situation.
existence. Yeah, it's so bad. Awful, awful, awful. But that's a subject for another day, or else I'll get into a long rant of why it sucks. So let's talk about this tweet.
So, so this is Harvard just announced that all classes will be online for 2020 to 2021. And here's the kicker. Tuition will remain at $50K. I think, Hunter, you have some strong feelings about this. I think you're best to lead
Hunter
this.
talk.
I don't know, man. To me, it's like, why would it be cheaper? Why wouldn't it remain?
I mean, I guess the inherent argument in the thread is, well, we don't get to use the beautiful building. We don't get to use the gym. We don't get to use the office hours. I see this at UCF here, like in the Reddit subreddit that I'm connected to, is everybody was like screenshotting their bill for the tuition, and it has stuff like what do you call it? It's like a transportation fee, which is like UCF's bus system, gym fee, parking, fees. Like it has like a bunch of stuff. Like actually one of the biggest things that Emilio said was that there was a bunch of students who have paid in advance for like 3 years worth of parking passes, because it's like a better deal to get like a dedicated parking pass if you buy for the 3 years, because they're very hard to come by. And that the school is like, yeah, I mean, we're not refunding that. Like you paid in advance 3 years ago. Like, right, but we're not going to class anymore. So I don't know. I mean, I think the argument is there's stuff that was offered auxiliary to the teaching that they're paying for. And I mean, we got a comment here in the feed that says the quality of teaching goes way down. Do you think that will happen, that the teaching won't be the same level now that it's remote?
I mean, personally, I think it inherently does go down, especially, and maybe this is something that the colleges need to figure out, but a lot of these teachers aren't prepared to like teach remotely. Like we saw this when COVID first really became a thing and everybody was trying to go remote. A lot of these folks had no idea how to like properly set up Zoom, do an online class, just like structure it. So like the basic infrastructure was really hard for people to learn. And I think that'll continue into the fall.
Yeah, I think it's the unexpected things that might decrease the quality. I mean, the content itself will of course not decrease, because you're speaking, just the channel is different. But I think it takes an adjustment period for everyone. And I've been seeing it with people who are switching to like work from home as opposed to in-office work, with professors, with like in certain year we had, so universities had Zoom calls, but for schools like elementary and especially, they had like TV broadcasts of lessons that are like unified for everyone. So teachers would pre-record sessions, and they would be broadcasted on one of the channels here, which is like, in one hand, great, because kids gets to continue their education, but then on the other hand, it's the worst possible thing you can ask from a kid. So just like sit there for hours.
Yeah.
And that, of course, like you need support from parents, etc., but not to go too into off topic. Like it really depends. Like I don't think you can say like, yes, it will decrease, or no, it will not.
I mean, and this isn't Harvard as an example, but I had a friend that called me last night and said, hey, you're good with technology. What's the best webcam to buy? And I was like, I mean, what are you going to use it for? And he goes, well, I need to buy 20, one for each of the classrooms at my high school. And I was like, dude, you are not going to find 20 webcams right now. Like they are sold out everywhere. Like there's no way you're finding 20 webcams. And he's like, oh, really? So we just started to talk, and I didn't know this. I didn't understand this fully, I guess. But the legislator that passed this week said that schools are going to be reopened here in Florida. And I thought that ended at that. You're going to go to school. Actually, what it was, though, is that all schools must open, but they must also offer a streaming option. And this is what I find really interesting, is with Harvard here, it's all going to be online. But for K through 12 schools, it totally changes the dynamic, because doing something that is online focused is fine. That's like a way of teaching. You could share your screen. We don't even need to see you, the teacher. We can just hear your audio and you can share slides. But if it's going to be both in person and streamed, that means that we have to give equal experience to both the students in the class and the students that are watching from a stream. And I think that's going to be way harder than they think it's going to be because, and Anya, I think you would probably agree that like in a remote company, the processes that you impart to your team and the systems that you have in place, they're centered around this concept of like remote, and trying to mix them is very difficult.
It is. It really is. And we actually see, or we don't see, like they're not challenges, but we have, so a couple of our teammates are in Tel Aviv. So they do get the opportunity to work together. So sit in a room and work together. And I remember having a discussion with a CEO from Acework, Angelina. She's amazing. And she also has the same issue, so to say. So a couple of her teammates are in Berlin, and then she has remote workers. So she needs to figure out a way how to balance that, and all of us do. But it's just hard because you cannot control organic connections and organic interactions that happen in a physical space.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that actually. Go ahead, Hunter.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that what she's saying, it taps into everything that we've been learning about Yak and the struggles that go into like for example, I don't remember the statistic off the top of my head, but Harvard Business, I believe it was the Harvard Business Journal or Business Review, put out a study that said that people that are, when there's a hybrid office, one that's in office and then one that's online, the one that's online, the remote employees feel like they're not as connected, and they feel like they miss opportunities. They feel like they're not as prone to getting promotions. So bringing that into the classroom sense, I don't know if that translates all the way back into education, but it's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. If anything, we should be rewarding Harvard because now they are going fully remote, which is what we tell everybody to do.
I think the problem with this is that the price doesn't reflect the quality of life or education that you may get. I mean, because let's be honest, half the magic of going to college is the social interaction. I mean, Hunter, you and I, for example,
but you could be saying the same thing about offices, though.
Well, I mean,
right? That's what people say all the time.
I'm paying you in that scenario. Office. You're not paying me.
Right. I even think about us. Like, we met because we were in like one of the on-campus facilities using their stuff. Like, that interaction obviously is super worth, whatever, right? But also I think about like how many times did we just randomly, was it like 11 p.m. at night, and are we like, hey, let's go to the library, or like, hey, let's do X, Y, and Z. It's really hard to justify paying the same price when you can't get those like just magic moments anymore.
Yeah, but that's what people say about offices all the time. Like, bringing it back to remote work, that's why for decades, people have been, especially middle managers, have been resisting the urge to go fully remote, because now you don't get to see who's at your desk. You don't get the magic moments of like walking past somebody, the water cooler effect. None of those things come into place when you have remote, or at least that's what they used to think. But now that you can get the same value of worker, if not better.
I think that's
if
the
you have a fully remote workforce.
Is like, in remote work, we have tools, and of course Yak is building one of these tools, but there are multiple tools in existence that help create the community and communication that you would lack in an office. And I don't think that exists for schools. And I think that it's also a very different environment for schools in that you sometimes don't want to. Like, I see, Emilio doing his college classes, and like even the way that they break up the groups into like group sessions is just like very forced, and it's just like another Zoom room, and it becomes this like droning repetition day after day, and not like this natural community that's being built. And I think that we've got a couple problems, like what I said, especially with the K through 12 scenario, is you've got the canary and the mineshaft kind of problem, where you'll have one or two students that are remote, and they're just basically being neglected from the major system. And because it wasn't set up for success to have that hybrid model from the beginning, that is going to fail. And then they'll have this precedent of like, well, it didn't work out for Johnny and Timmy, so remote school doesn't work, or hybrid school doesn't work. And I think it's mostly because there isn't a good system in place for that hybrid model, where in remote work, I think we do have some level of enough tools that you could make it work. And I think we can always get better at that. But in school, I don't think that exists yet.
I also think the difference, my last point on this with school, is that social is so tied to school versus work can be separated out, right? Like there's people who go to an office and work and then have a separate social life outside of work. In college, the people that you're learning and growing with inherently are like the people that you go to for social events as well and activities. So like you're not only taking away, I guess, the ability to learn well, but you're also taking away social experiences.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
okay, next.
I think this is our last slide. But Anya, I don't know if you noticed this launch yesterday, but it was number 2 in Product Hunt. I was fortunate enough to be included in this launch, but Product Hunt just partnered with SuperPeer to launch a mentor network. And I guess, on the note of kind of education and how education is changing, I personally find this very encouraging. I love what Product Hunt is doing. I'm honored to be included with, I think everyone on this list probably makes 10x what I've made, and is much more impressive than me. So I feel honored to be included. But for me, it furthers, I think our mission as well, Anya, both Deal and Yak's mission to kind of decentralize San Francisco. And, this idea of like, you can get education, you can get mentorship, you can get apprenticeship, like wherever in the world you are, doesn't matter what country, doesn't matter, what age, doesn't matter what company you're working for, this network is available to you. And I think this is a cool first step forward. What do you think?
It is. Well, first of all, congratulations. This is amazing news. And I think it's really valuable for people to kind of realize that this is also a good way to go. It doesn't necessarily need to be the only way to go. And this is, I think, something we need to understand. So remote work does not work for everyone, and it's okay, both on an individual level and on a company level. So, it just doesn't make sense for some. But I think trying to decentralize, as you said, from San Francisco, from, I don't know, Western Europe or wherever you are, like you can be on a beach and do the exact same work, working from Bay Area, for example. So it's like you're just your brilliant self wherever you are. And I think just like we're adapting, and I think it's possible. It makes a lot of sense. I'm super happy that it's there. Like for me, it's a bit different because I've actually never worked in a physical space. So I cannot really compare.
Yeah, that's cool.
Really?
I've never had like a traditional job either. I've always worked from home, really.
Yeah, I worked from a co-working space, but I also worked for a co-working space. I was a part of a global team of one of the co-working spaces, but I never stepped into an actual office. So I never put on a suit and just went there, which is really funny because when I was putting on this Deal t-shirt that I have that nobody will see, now that we're just doing audio, I remember this, like, don't dress for the work that you have, dress for the work that you want to have.
What you want, yeah.
I'm like, should I be in like bathing suit with sunglasses?
Yeah.
How does that play into like remote work?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really cool that Product Hunt is helping put this community forward to say, hey, if you're in a position where you haven't been fortunate enough, and I think the 3 of us guys have just been blessed with just the most fortunate situations, companies falling in our laps, and happening to be roommates in college, and just like the way everything worked out for us 3, I think it's just really a blessing. And not everybody has that network or happens to fall into those situations. And so I'm excited to be able to talk to somebody who is just like grinding away at home, and they don't have that network, and they have some questions, they need help, and I want to be there to help them out. And I think, Hunter, just kind of like go back to what you were talking about before. Would you, and I think this is a good question for you in particular, still pay $50K for Harvard online if you could, I don't know, get personal mentorship from Zuck, right? Like for a quarter of that. Like, is Harvard still going to have that like badge of honor moving forward if there are other ways to get educated?
Yeah, for sure. I think I saw it was like what, $75 to be able to talk to one of the mentors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it's value, right? Like, I already know the answer to this, but this is sort of like what goes through my head is like, for somebody like you, Justin, I know that you've launched on Product Hunt like 25 times at least, and you've helped like 50 maybe, I don't know, but it's ridiculous. So the amount of knowledge that I'll get, is that worth $75? And I feel like the answer is yes, because I was going to write a tweet about this actually yesterday, is should education like this be free? And I kept going back and forth, because then it's like, well, you can value it by time. But I mean, that goes against everything that we talk about with remote work, is that people are worth more than just time now. It's more about value. And so I think, would I be willing to pay $75 for someone to properly teach me everything that they know about a product on launch? And I have to think that even if you make $0, it's still worth it, just in the long run, just being able to pick someone's brain and not feel bad about it, and not be, spamming them, or feeling bad about taking their time or their energy, like they're getting something out of it. So I think it's pretty cool that Product Hunt did this.
That exact thing came up in a thread last night. And one of the questions was, why is this called a mentor network instead of an advisor network? Because mentorship is usually free. And, I had a quick poignant response to that, which was, I'm not sure that has anything to do with the word mentor as much as it does with probably a lack of everyone valuing everybody's time. And it just, by proxy, it became this thing we associated with free work. And, I think, Anya, same kind of like goal that you set out with the deal initially, is like contractors should be paid for their time, and, too many clients are stiffing people. I have an inherent problem on my end of not valuing my own time. And when someone does stiff me or doesn't offer, to pay, I'm like, yeah, it's fine, don't worry about it. And at least for me, SuperPeer puts this barrier between myself and my own abuse of my own time, where, because there's a paywall associated with it, I am at least I'm respecting my own time now. And I think, when you told me that was Deal's like initial mission, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I feel that as someone who's freelanced for 10 years, like, no one respects your time. And sometimes you don't even respect your time.
Oh yeah, same here. Yeah, I agree. It's really, it is like, just to add on to mentorship. I think mentorship also means that it's on a longer time period, so not necessarily like a one-time thing that you can book and pick someone's brain or get advice or something. So could be advisory, could be a better word for that, but let's not get into details. Because for me, mentorship program is something that you first of all pick someone that you like to be mentored by, which is extremely important, because you need to have similar views, or not similar views, but like similar paths, so I would say. And then you gotta need to figure out what you want to get out of it. But it's great that something like that exists. I mean, just give people an opportunity to hear, listen, and also on the other side share and just provide insight. Like, you don't necessarily need to solve your problem by booking this time, but just have a shift of perspective or hear someone else. That can also be really, really crucial at times.
Yeah. And I think it furthers the mission of both Yak and Deal of building a globally enabled workforce where talent is everywhere, education is available from anywhere. And yeah, I don't know, I'm super excited, for companies like you guys that are helping that, further that mission. We're excited to continue using you as a product. We love the Deal product. As we kind of sign off for this episode, tell the folks that are listening in, where they can find Deal, how they can sign up, just kind of drop social handles, all that good stuff.
All right. So if you want to learn more about Deal or sign up, go to letsdeal.com. That's Deal with double E, just in case. So letsdeal.com. And then we are on social media under @Deal. So Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. If you want to connect with me, I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook as well. Trying to be more out there when it comes to Twitter, especially with you guys just doing this. It really inspired me to be out there and dedicate time to just like learning about the world through Twitter, just from a professional side. And yeah, we are there. We can help you sign up if you need a demo. We're happy to give you one, but you can also do self-serve and sign up within a couple of minutes. And it's not just, hey, it takes a couple of minutes, but you end up spending 2 hours. It really takes a few minutes.
Yeah, it's really simple.
you guys can say more about it from a user perspective.
Well, I was just going to say, actually, I never say yes to demos, and because I just don't have time. But someone did sneak into my LinkedIn DMs and gave me a live demo of Deal, and that's actually what sold me on it. Is I needed something that served this incredibly small niche problem that we had, and it did just that, just insanely well. And I was like, done, sold. I don't need any more. You can stop the demo. I'm a user. So just getting that screen share session for like 5 minutes was all I needed to go, this is definitely a product we should be using. So yeah, I definitely encourage anybody listening, if you're having difficulty hiring global, or it's something that you're going to be looking into, or you're just not sure what the different like rules and regulations of each area that you might be hiring in will be, Deal just handles all of that for you, and it's beautiful. I definitely would encourage you to book a demo, check it out. And yeah, we're excited to have Anya on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. Please connect with her and Deal on all the socials, especially Twitter, because we're going to force her to become just a Twitter rock star. But yeah, thank you so much for joining, Anya. We're excited to have you today. I'm going to go ahead and sign us off. And thanks for joining us, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.